Alright, so I'm going to try and put this engine in its proper spot. Because I don't know about exactly where I want the engine to actually end up as far as the elevation, I'm going to bolt the engine to the transmission, then I'm going to bolt the transmission to the cross member, and then I'm going to slowly adjust the engine up and down until I get exactly the level that I want, and then I can take the measurements to make the engine mounts. The interesting thing about this engine is that the mount bosses are in different places. Because this engine was originally at about a 45-degree angle, these three bosses were the engine mount on this side, and these here were the engine mount on this side. Now I'm not going to be using a lot of accessories on this. Really, there's only going to be one very large alternator, so I don't have to worry about power steering, and I don't have to worry about air conditioning on here. The original power steering pump was bolted here. Actually, I take that back. It was the air conditioning compressor. Anyway, it was bolted here. I think I'm going to use that as my engine mount bosses on this side. I don't see that I can use any others. Obviously, these are going to be too high. And there's really nothing below. There's these two, but there's nothing above to tie into. So these should be for the engine mount on this side. And then on this side, I can either use these two and these two, or I can keep it where it was, which is over here. I'm probably going to use these and these as my mounts. The distance between the rails means that I'm going to have to build my own ears for these. The length of these original ears, they're just not long enough. They only bring it out a bit, so I'm going to end up coming out to about here. So I'm going to have to make a longer mount, which isn't really a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and start connecting the engine to the transmission, put the new clutch and everything on, and then see where we end up from there. Alright, I figured something else out here. So I've taken the flywheel adapter off. I checked on the website, and so I ordered this from HPA, and when I ordered it, they didn't have the JK conversion package on their website. So when I called, they explained what parts I needed, and so I just basically ordered it, even though it wasn't an actual product on their website yet. They had done an internal conversion, but they hadn't actually put it out for sale. So anyway, I went to their website to get their number to give them a call, and I see that they have the conversion package. And right on the page it says you've got to ship the flywheel to them for modification. So I realized, of course, this is the correct adapter. What I didn't understand when I ordered this is that I can't use the stock JK flywheel. The flywheel's got to be re-drilled. So I checked, and yes, these bolt holes don't interfere with anything, and so basically all I got to do is re-drill the flywheel. Really not that big of a deal. It's just simple straight through bolts. I can use these to mark the drill points and just use a regular drill press to drill them. I don't really need to have a machine shop to do this. The little insert here fits exactly. There's no play here, so it's going to self-index. If I go ahead and drill this, I don't think it would give me any problems. Worst come to worst, if it didn't work, I could just buy a new flywheel and ship them that, which wouldn't be fun, but you know, it's not like I can really hurt that much. The only thing I'm concerned about, very mildly concerned about, is that there's a little bit of a lip here. It's hard to see, but there's a little bit of a lip here. So these holes are going to be drilled right on that lip, basically. I'll drill from the other side. So what I'm going to have to do is use like an end mill to clean off the area around in order to give the bolt a good solid mating surface. But even that I'm not that worried about, because balance issues aren't going to be too much of a problem this close to the center line. Weight changes out here make a big difference. Weight changes down here don't make that big of a difference. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to go ahead and mark these on the other side, and I'm going to drill this flywheel. Well, I've got the flywheel re-drilled and put the adapter back on. Doing some test fitting and found out that the tip of the starter interferes with the tone ring here. Since this tone ring is not needed on the TDI, it was what the 3.8 engine used to tell that the engine was spinning. I'm going to go ahead and remove it. I kind of pounded it down to about the middle here, and then I'm going to use a Dremel and just pop it and get it to come off. I could remove the starter ring, but then I'd have to heat it back up and put it back on. I might as well just see if I can get this off without taking this off, but I'll do that. The only other complex thing that I found was that I need new flex plate hardware. Didn't realize that that was so bad. And the new flex plate didn't come with any, so I'm going to take one of these with me, and I'm going to see if I can find some more. They're 9.8 grade, you know, good bolts, so we'll see if I can find some. If not, I'll have to order a set. Well, I've got the engine attached to the transmission finally. It's been a long journey to this point, but there she is, all bolted up. So now I'm going to try and get it to go in here. As you can see, I now have the engine in the bay. Transmission is on the mounts, as you can see through the hole there, that the top of the transmission is lined up. So now I've got to work on getting my positioning right and then working on my engine mounts. What I think I'm going to do is basically just going to mount the mount on the engine, and then I'm going to make the measurements and make the connections from the frame rail. So I wanted to get it on there and in the right position, so I knew really where to go with the mounts. The engine is actually lower in the frame rails than I expected, so I'm glad that I did this before trying to fab up the mounts. But I still have some playing around to do, making sure my angles are correct. Yeah, I'm going to start on the engine mounts. I now have the engine perfectly centered between the frame rails, supported by some blocks of wood down here. This jack helped me center it in the frame rails, so I'm exactly center on the frame rails. I've got it at the height I want. It's got a very, very, very slight slope back to the tail shaft. Exactly what I'm looking for. I think that's the placement that I want. So now it's time to go ahead and start building the engine mounts. I'm going to start on this side because I'm going to leave this jack here so it stays in the exact right position. Start here and make an engine mount on this side. Alright, so a bit of an update. I'm making two of these. I'm still going to clean off those edges yet, but I'm making two of these, and they're going to be brackets that are going to mount right onto the frame rail here. These are made actually from the old pieces of the frame rail that I had from the part I cut out of the Jeep earlier. But anyway, they're going to mount on the frame rail. On the top, to give me some nice vertical holding power, I'm going to put weld nuts on the inside here so that I can run bolts in here and remove these if I ever need to. And then I'll build brackets from here to the engine. I'll do that on both sides.